Hey class, all right, welcome. This is Unit 10 now in 403, and this week we are talking about how to select media for your media plan. So read Lesson 10, all right, so this is, there's a lot of content here. The reading for this week is actually Chapter 9, and that's just a review because we have had that before, so review, and there's some specific pages there, but there's a lot of content here in Lesson 10 that you're going to need to review to do this week's assignment. All right, so what are we doing for the assignment? Okay, so there's two parts this week. All right, part one is the media selection, and then part two is the budget. Okay, so you actually get to pick what media are going to be part of this plan, and you have a budget. You have a $10 million budget, and I want to know how you're going to spend that and why you're spending it where you've chosen. Okay, so you have three different buckets of categories. You have paid traditional, okay, so that's magazine, radio, TV, outdoor, those kinds of things. You have paid digital, okay, so that's where you're going to pick different sites to be on, different social platforms, that kind of thing. And then we have the owned and earned category. So on their website, what are you going to put on there to get them to share with it? So this is more of the public relations part of it. Okay, so media selection and then the budget. Okay, so media selection, considerations. Here, let me make this a little bigger if I can. I guess that didn't really help, did it here? I'll make it smaller again. All right. Anyway, so a written summary of your media selection for each of those categories that I talked about. So that's section one, considerations and recommendations. Okay, so look at the strategies, the reasons why we're doing what we're doing in your campaign, right? What are the strategies and what makes the most sense for why you've chosen the things you have, right? So there aren't necessarily bad choices, but there is bad rationale. So I'm looking for, I may not think that this campaign is perfect for outdoor, but if you choose outdoor and then you give me some solid strategic reasons why that makes sense, that's what I'm looking for, right? So again, media selections are not necessarily good or bad, but there is bad reasoning, rationale, strategy for why you've chosen that, okay? So for each category, I want you to look at 3 to 5 options, all right, 3 to 5 options. So for example, if you're doing paid traditional, right? So look at least, 3 to 5 in that category: radio, TV, outdoor, magazine, newspaper, whatever it is. Digital, 3 to 5 components within that, vehicles within that, 3 to 5 different platforms. Maybe you want to do paid search, Google Ads, whatever it is you want to choose, right? But look for 3 to 5 in each of the categories. So that's one of the things I'm grading on is 3 to 5 options, right, in that category. All right. Any relative qualitative factors, right? So again, what is the reasoning why you're picking this information? It shouldn't just be from your gut or I think it's probably going to be good, right? You need to have some sort of research that kind of points to, this is my target audience, and this is why that makes sense. Okay, so read through that. If you have any questions, let me know. And then the other part of this is the flow chart. Okay, and the flow chart kind of fits into part one and part two here, but there is a sample flow chart here, right? So click on that, and you will see examples in the lesson and in the book of professional flowcharts. Okay, so it's always divided by day or week of the month, right? So you got 12 months. Then you've got, okay, so here's the media vehicles in one column. Then you got how many units are you going to buy in, so if it's a magazine, how many, full page ads are you going to buy, right? What is the cost you're going to put against that? Okay, so do your best on the budgeting part and the numbers. Okay, you have $10 million. You don't want to go over that. The client does not want to see a plan for more money than they've told you your budget is. So be under it, but as close to 10 million as you can get. Now, you are not going to want to come back with a plan for $5 million, right? So that's only half of what they've given you. So you definitely want to be as close to 10 million as you can. And, so choose, I'm going to put, 20% of the budget and whatever that's going to be against owned and earned. Let's say 50% of the budget is going to be against these digital sites. What are those sites? How much are you going to spend on each one? Do your best for divvying up the money and knowing how much you're going to spend for each one, right? And so you have your total cost for, let's say, TikTok, and then you can just divide that out for the number of units that you're going to pick. And you're going to see on the flow chart that parts of it are blacked out or marked out, indicating what weeks, what months you're going to be running that vehicle. Okay, it'll make more sense once you look at the information that's applied there. Okay, so anyway, there's a link to a flow chart. It's in Excel. The grids are all set up. You just have to kind of punch in numbers. There is example in there for the magazine part, just like it's kind of blocked out for the month of December. This is how much it's going to cost, right? So it's just an example. So type over that, delete it if you want, but you can see kind of how it's set up. Okay, and then part 2 is the budget. Okay, how are you going to allocate it? And I want some rationale here. So overall, I'm looking for 2 to 3 pages plus the flow chart. Okay, so use those 2 to 3 pages to offer your rationale, your strategy, the research for why you've chosen what you've chosen, right? So I'm the client. I'm going to look at this information. I'm going to see your flow chart, and then I will know from your essay why you've chosen this much for digital. This is why you've chosen those sites within digital. This is why you've put in this budget allocation towards traditional. This is why you've chosen the vehicles within traditional that you have. So like specific magazines, I'm looking for specific programs. What day parts of these programs are you looking at, right? So, be specific with that. Again, like I said, you have $10 million to work with. All right. So you are going to upload 2 to 3 pages of essay and your flow chart. Okay. So 1 page of copy, like an essay and your flow chart, is going to lose points. It has to be 2 to 3 pages of the written part. Okay, so single space, 12-point type, like all the normal parameters that we usually do for formatting, right? And then add the flow chart. So, and if you can, put the flow chart right into the Word document if you can, or upload it separately as a separate submission. That's fine too. All right, if you have any questions, that's what we're doing this week. So we're really getting to the nitty-gritty of a media plan, and this is an actual document that you would present to a client. So this is a great experience for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will be eager to look at what you come up with for this week's assignment. All right, hope you all have a great week. Bye.